Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Let's do this.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Jimmy Draws Art. I'm Jimmy Dragon. So the other day, I went out and did a lot of shopping. As you can tell from the intro of this video, I have a number of things I want to get through, so let's get to it. One place I went to was my local dollar store, Dollarama. Over there, one thing I picked up was this tripod that caught my eye. It only cost $4, so for $4, why not? It's probably cheap as heck plastic, but I figure it's worth giving it a shot. It looks like you can stick this one to any smooth surface, and it should stick to it with suction cups. Well, I figure what the heck, let's give it a try. Next thing I picked up at the dollar store was this LED light. It looks like it changes into so many colors. Honestly, I don't know why I picked this up. Something told me to pick this up and bring this home. I don't know if this should be used for filming or not, but it's something I'm going to give a try. Another thing I picked up from the dollar store was this little bamboo pen holder. I am looking for something to organize my other markers in, and maybe this might be the answer. I want to stick this with my other markers. I don't know. If this thing works, I might buy more of them. At $4 again? Why not? It just might work. I will give it a try, I think. The last thing I picked up at the dollar store were these paintbrushes. Again, I felt that these just wanted to come home with me. Well, for $3.50 again, why not? They say they are professional paintbrushes. I don't know how professional you can get at the dollar store, but crazier things have surprised me. They do feel like nice brushes from what I can tell outside this package. I will give them a go maybe in the future. Let's finally get to what this video is really about. Testing all these art pens I picked up from the art store. If you follow my channel, you will know in the last video I did, I mentioned that I was getting tired of the Micron Pens that I use, and they were smudging when I would use the markers on the drawing. Well, we are finally going to test what pens are going to be best for using Copic markers with. Most of these pens are new to me and I have never used them before, like for instance, these Tombow mono drawing pens. I have never used these before. I actually saw these on Amazon a while back ago and I was interested. I would have bought them on there, but I wanted to check out my local art store at Michael's. Good thing I did. I got them for cheaper than I would have on Amazon thanks to a coupon. The next set of pens I picked up at my Michael's are these Faber Castell Pit Pens. These look interesting, and something tells me these are going to be different than the other pens I got. They look like they are going to be a very bold set of pens. Well, we shall see how they are. This next pen I have here is a Walmart find. I saw these used from a YouTuber, Weblight Dreams, and I have been curious. I saw them on the shelf and I thought to myself I should try these out. Honestly, I don't have too high expectations from these. On the package they say they are alcohol-based ink. Since the Copics are also alcohol-based too, I have a feeling they might smudge as well. The next ink pen I got are these Copic ink pens. I picked these up from another art store in town. I find it funny that I have never used these before. You see, I do have a set of Copic fineliners, but they are the kind you refill. These do not refill. I would put those in this test too, but I don't have ink for them. So I am using these instead. I picked up the 05 and the 03 of these. The actual full set that the store had, the 03 was the larger size in the set, and I don't like using too fine of a fineliner. It's just the way I work. But this brush pen I picked up was an interesting find. You see, I follow an artist on YouTube and Instagram. You may have heard of him, Jake Parker. He created a little yearly drawing challenge called Inktober. Anyway, yeah, he uses this brush pen, and say what you will about him, I really admire his work as an artist. So when I saw this pen in the store, I had to give it a try. It looks like a dual tip brush pen. One side is the bold normal brush, and the other is a fine brush it looks like. This last pen I picked up was this Posca pen. I have never tried out Posca pens before. It's something I've been wanting to try out. I am curious about them. Mainly I have seen other YouTube artists using the white pen as a way to outline artwork to make them pop, so I wanted to try that out. I want to see how this pen works with that. I am always willing to try something new. Alright, that is what I bought. Let's start testing these pens out. But first, let's take a quick break and let's check out this $4 tripod I got from the dollar store. I am curious to see what this thing is like and see if I can use this in future videos. Honestly, I don't have high expectations for this, but we shall see what we got here. Let's open this up here and check out this tripod. Let me use my cutting tool here. Well, I must say this is an interesting little device here. It is pretty cheap looking, I will say that. The mount that you put your camera onto is all plastic. Even the stud you screw into the base of the tripod. But what do you expect for $4? And in all honesty, it's really better than the $4 you pay for this. I did mount my camera onto this tripod, and I'm very impressed. It sticks nicely to surfaces, the arms are very flexible, and will grip onto just about everything around me. Yes, I will be using this for future videos for sure. I might even go back to the store and grab another one. All I have to say is, dollar store for the win. Now let's get back to the pens. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that break. Now let's test out these pens I bought. I have out my good old Bristol board paper that I mainly use as my choice of paper. And let's see what these pens can really do. Let's do this. Alright, the test grid is all finished. I have here all the fine liners that I will be testing out on this page. As you can see, I also included brands I currently own. I believe that is only fair that I do that, and also I need to show a baseline comparison of what I am originally using. In this case, since I am trying to see what is better than the Microns, I should show them in this video as well. So the first one I will ink and color are the Microns. Okay, so I have laid down the ink of the Microns, and I have given them 5 minutes to dry. Now it's time to take these Copic markers and see what they can do to these inks. Well, they happened just as expected. I started to color, and they started to smudge over here in the area where I did my heavy inks. You know, I have told myself that I should do the heavy inks after I color. As you can see, the area where I didn't do the heavy inks, there is no smudging. If I do continue to use these ink pens, I really should follow my own advice here and wait to do the heavier inks. Well anyway, let's move on to the next ink pen I happen to own, and that is the Spectrum Noir fineliners that I have. That I originally got with the Jazza Pro Artist Series collection box. Okay, just finished putting down the inks of the Spectrum Noir fineliners, and I must say, these truly are nice ink pens. I have never drawn with the Spectrum Noir and the Micron side by side. The tip of the Spectrum Noir went down smooth and glided on the page. The Microns felt rough, and there was a bit of drag to the tip. I think this is going to be very interesting. Let's continue on with the colors. Finished with the Spectrum Noir with the Copic colors, and I have to say I am still very impressed with these ink pens. The inks went down butter smooth on the paper, and using the Copics, you can see no smudging of the inks. As you can also see with the Microns, smudging. I let these dry for the same amount of time before laying down the Copic colors. I have to say I was very impressed with these ink pens in the past videos. But if I were to switch to these, I would have a hard time, I think, getting these. I have to order them online from Spectrum Noir, and they will have to ship from the US. And so I have to pay a bit extra for the shipping. If you're on a budget, this can get expensive. Alright, I think it's time to move on to the next ink pen that I want to try. That will be the Copics. I find that funny. Copics with Copics. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so that was the Copic ink pen. Just so you are aware, I am mainly using the 05 sizes of all the ink pens I have here. I mainly work with the larger sizes when I ink, so I want to show a fair representation of how I work normally with the ink pens and the markers. But as for the Copic ink pens, I feel they are very nice pens also. The ink flow is nice. I must say, the Spectrum Noir pens flow a bit better. But I have to say that the Copics are becoming a second favorite thus far. Now let's pit the Copic pens with the Copic markers. Yes, Copic with Copic. Let the Copic begin. Well, that was a bit interesting. So the Copic did end up smearing on me a little bit. It smeared here mostly with the yellow marker here. It did smear up a little bit here, but it did end up getting hidden a bit from the blending. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But here it looks like it did it a bit. So I say that this was interesting. I had some good hopes for the Copic, but it looks like Spectrum Noir takes the lead just a little bit. Alright, let's move on to the next ink pen, and they are the Tombow mono ink pens. Let's see how they fare. So the Tombow ink pens, let's just say they are alright. The inking experience with them were more comparable to the Microns than the other two. I wasn't too impressed with the feel. The tip on the Tombow ink pens were rough feeling, and the ink wasn't coming out as smooth as the others. Well, let's just see how they do compare with the Copic markers now. Well, the Tombow ink pens work just as well as the Microns in the heavier inked areas. As you can see, there is some smearing of the inks, though not as much as the Microns, but still much more than the Copic ink pens. I'll be honest, I felt that I was expecting as much with the Tombow ink pens. When they felt like the Microns, I just didn't have high hopes for them. Well, that should be enough with those. Let's move on now to the LePen ink pens next. LePen, what can I say? They feel cheap. They feel like you're grabbing a Sharpie marker and using that to ink with. You know though, nothing wrong with Sharpies, but it's what you grab when you have little money to be spending on art supplies. I have little expectations of these pens. I did mention that they are alcohol-based pens, so if they start to smudge, I'm just going to stop. Well, let's see. Well, I am impressed. Don't judge a book by its cover. These pens did not smear at all. To be honest, I was trying to make them smear when I was coloring, but in the process they did fade a little here. I guess that was because they are alcohol based, and the markers are alcohol based as well. I really didn't think of that, so my bad for jumping on these, thinking they were going to be bad. Well, they do still feel like you are drawing with a Sharpie pen, so that much they feel cheap, but honestly, I am going to probably find a way to use these in my art, I think. Okay, so my overall view on these... Wait a second. Oh boy. I forgot the Faber Castell Paint Pens as they are called. Sorry about that. You were probably yelling at the beginning of this video that I forgot them. Yes, I did. So, I drew the grid here to test them next to the LePen grid here. It's a little tight, but it works. So let's open the Paint Pens here and see what we got here. These are a really bold set of pens. Looking at the set here, I will have to say, by looking at the front of the package, that this 1,5 is the most like a fineliner. The others are brush pens, and one looks like a chisel pen tip, probably for calligraphy. So yes, the 1,5 is the one I will use. Let's see how they stack up with the Copic markers and the other ink pens. Okay, the Faber Castell. I have to say, they seem to be a nice pen to ink with. As you can see, very bold lines here. But the inking experience was very nice. Nice smooth tip, and the ink went down nice and dark. But I guess we need to see how they work with the Copic markers. So let's see how they do. Well, I do like the Faber Castell Paint Pens here. They do smudge a little bit. I found it interesting that they mainly smudged when I color with the yellow. The other colors look like they did smudge just a little, but not too badly. I would say these pens work a little like the LePen inks, though the pens did not feel like Sharpies. I'm not sure what to think, honestly. I do like them, and I think I will continue to use them. They are a bold set of pens, so I will probably use them when needed. I do have a couple other things I want to try out here before ending this video. I wanted to try out this brush pen. This is the brush pen that Jake Parker seems to use often. It's one of the brush pens featured on his website that he uses among his other materials that he uses. So when I saw this in the store, I felt I had to try this one out. It looks like that is a nice looking brush pen. You can see the bristles on this brush here. I think this will be a nice brush. Wow, this brush feels nice. Yes, that is a nice feeling pen. The brush feels really smooth and nice. I think I am going to like using this brush. The other side here, yeah, it looks different. Supposed to be a fine brush according to the picture on the package. Even the fine brush actually feels really nice. Yeah, this is going to be a nice brush. The last pen I want to try out here is this Posca pen. I bought a white one. I wanted to try out using it to add in different highlights to the artwork. I don't know if it will work, but I wanted to try it out. Now if I can get this package open, I will be in business. There we go. Oh, it's a brush pen? I guess I bought a brush pen. I thought I bought a fine line bullet nib. How does this thing work? There is a cap on this end here, looks like. Oh, a button on here. Ah, here comes the paint. Okay, this is interesting. The flow seems to be alright. It seems to be opaque, I think. Yeah, I feel the Posca paint is interesting. I will have to practice on this a little more, I think. Not sure how I feel about it just yet. Anyway, it's a try. Okay, let's run through my favorites of the bunch of the ink pens I tried here. Let's start off with the Micron, since they were my baseline ink pens I was comparing everything to. So the Microns, they perform as expected in my opinion. They were smearing in the heavy inks that I tend to work in. I always tell myself that I should do a baseline ink first, because when I just work lightly like in the light areas here, the ink doesn't smudge. Take this how you will. These ink pens used to be my go-to ink pens. That was until I came across the Spectrum Noir ink pens. The Spectrum Noir ink pens? Fabulous. Spoiler alert, they are pretty much my favorite out of the whole bunch here. I had no complaints about them. The ink went down so smooth, the tips of the pens were a wonderful feel on the paper that I use, and best of all, no smudging, not even in the heavy ink areas. I really want to switch primarily to them. However, getting these ink pens to me where I live is a bit of a challenge. I have to order them from off their website. They seem to be primarily a UK company, and they seem to have a US hub as well. So I guess I will be ordering them from the US, and shipping will be a bit on the costly side. Guess I will have to order in bulk. I don't know, we shall see. The Copic ink pens, I was also surprised with them. I also thought that they would have performed a bit better with the Copic markers, though I would put these as a close second against the Spectrum Noir pens. The smudging was minimal. It only smudged in the yellow areas of the heavy inks there. If I was in a pinch and I needed to have an ink pen on hand, out of all these I can find in my art stores, I would pick up the Copic ink pens. The inks did go down pretty smooth, and the tip of the pen did feel nice on the paper. I would even say Copic is a good choice. Right, the Tombow ink pens. They felt like Microns. The ink wasn't so smooth going down. The tip of the pen was rough against the paper. I felt like the ink pen was more scratching into the paper, and the smudging was not good. I think I would pretty much avoid these ink pens. Although in the lighter inked areas, there was no smudging, so I will give them that. But for me, I will start to avoid these ink pens just like the Microns. The LePens? Wow, what a surprise. I will admit, they feel like you are drawing with a Sharpie, so the ink flows as expected like a Sharpie feels. But I guess because of the fact that these are alcohol-based pens, the ink will not bleed off. They feel like more of a marker than anything. I guess these are more markers than ink pens. So I wouldn't use these as a main ink pen. These are more of a specialty pen to use in other cases, I think, and feel. Not too sure. I mean, I like them and I don't. I will have to experiment. And last, the forgotten one. The Faber Castell Pit Pens. These I would also consider as a specialty pen. I wouldn't use these as a primary ink pen when using markers. Or maybe as an after the fact maybe. They too were smudging with the Copic markers. I will have to practice using these in the future. I do like them so far. We shall see. Well, that was my roundup of all the ink pens. As for the fineliners, Spectrum Noir and Copic are my favorites. The Microns and Tombow pens, I will avoid from now on. The LePen and Faber Castell, those are different pens, and they require more experimenting with. Basically, I am not sure about them. I like them, and at the same time, I don't like them. Why did I do this video? This video is too long as it is. So let's close this up with my closing. I hope that you like this video. If you do, give this video a like by pushing that like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content from me in the future. With that said, I thank you for watching the video, and we shall see you in the next one. Thanks and bye-bye.
The cheat is grounded.